Hey everybody, it's Katie. Does the thought of all of those little things that you need to register for, all those little supplies for baby, does that make your head spin a little bit? In today's video, we are going to talk about the must-haves for baby, and I'm going to break it down simply and hopefully quickly in order to kind of calm that head spinning just a little bit. When I was pregnant with my first daughter, well, first of all, I should tell you, I'm a planner. I enjoy planning. I planned my wedding pretty much all by myself, and I loved it. I planned pretty much everything else for my baby and enjoyed that. But when it came actually to registering, I froze. I was like, there's so much stuff, like I don't know. Because a lot like a wedding, when you put the word wedding in front of it, when you put the word baby in front of it, people are like, it makes it more expensive, and there's a gazillion things that you need, or get this for your baby, or you need this, and when you don't have a baby, and there's all these people telling you, well, you should get all this, you're like, well, maybe I should get all this, I don't know. But I realized that there was probably stuff I didn't need, but I didn't know how, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. So one of my sweet friends who was throwing the baby shower, my baby shower for me, it was her and my other friend, and I was like, she goes, have you registered? You know, we're going to put the link on the baby shower invitation. And I was like, no, no, I can't, I don't know what to do. She's like, are you overwhelmed? And I'm like, yes, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't even want to do it. Will you do it for me, please? She was like, no. She said, but I will come into town. She lived, bless her sweet soul, she lived 45 minutes out of town. So she drove all the way into town, picked me and my big old pregnant self up, and took me to the baby store and walked down every aisle with me, and we just talked about stuff. And she's like, you see this? This is great, but you probably don't want to get this kind, because, she just broke it down. So where I was like, okay, I feel a lot better. But I joke with her that I wouldn't have any of my baby stuff if it wasn't for her, because I didn't know what to get. So today I want to try to bring a little bit of peace to your brain as far as like, what do I need, and what's a must-have, and what's a want. So my goal today is to kind of talk about the must-haves. Now, this is going to look different for everybody because everybody has different preferences and different budgets. But this is what worked out really well for me for both my first and my second daughter. Now, remember, there's the difference between the must-have and the want. And sometimes your want might actually be a need. I don't know. Anyway, Also, in the description below, in order to kind of try to keep this a little bit shorter, we're going to have the full list of what I'm talking about today. We're going to have links where I can get a link. We're going to do a link to the things that I've used. Not necessarily to say you should use everything that I use, but it's a good jumping off point to help you research what is going to fit best into your budget and into your lifestyle. Because I understand that some of the things that I like you might not like, and that's totally cool. But it'll give you a sort of an idea of where I'm coming from, and it'll help keep the video a little bit shorter. So after you watch the video, be sure to check out the description. There'll be the links. And also we're going to link in some videos that we've done on things like cloth diapering and co-sleepers and stuff like that. I also want to mention really quick, the things that I am going to talk about are mostly for newborn. So this is going to be for the first month or two. Now beyond that, you're going to need additional things, but this is just to help you like in those first few months where you guys are mostly in the cocoon, which is the term that there's a website that I found that I actually really love, the list that I'm going to be kind of going off of, and that's also going to be in the description below. You and baby are in the cocoon, because for the most part, I think typically, at least in my experience, for the first couple months, at least the first 2 months, I didn't really go a lot of places. Now, it wasn't that I didn't ever, I wasn't staying home every single day, but I didn't really go very many places. Maybe we would go to the grocery store or maybe to a friend's house, but for the most part, you're sleeping, you're nursing, you're learning about your baby, you're resting, and you're just kind of in the cocoon. So the first thing on the list is going to be diapering. So it doesn't matter whether you choose cloth or disposable, you've got to figure out what kind of diapers am I going to put on my baby's bottom. We did a mix of both and loved it. I loved doing the cloth, and I also loved the convenience of disposables. We chose something that didn't have dyes and bleach and chlorine and all that stuff, just because it was going to be on our baby's most precious little parts. So again, check down in the description and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But diapering, you got to figure it out. You got to have some way to cover that. The next one is a changing place. Now, I would say that a changing pad changed my life. I didn't have one for the first baby, and for the second baby I did, and it was glorious. Now, you could do that or not. I would say it's a need simply because you're going to be doing a lot of bending down and moving and picking up, and having a place to set them, to change them, is going to be like a lifesaver for your back. So I would say a changing pad and a changing table, but overall, just figure out where are you going to change their bottom on a daily, hourly, every few minute basis. Next, we are going to go to feeding. I have exclusively breastfed both my babies. I understand that that won't be for everybody. I understand that there's going to be, bottles and potential other things as well. But as far as feeding goes, if you're going to be breastfeeding, especially in those first few weeks, which is awesome, you're going to need burp cloths, because after you feed them, you got to give them the pat, pat, pat and the burp, and there's going to be bleh, the spit up. So I would invest in burp cloths for sure. The other thing that I would say, and the website that I'm actually working off of that I mentioned doesn't list this as a must-have, but I actually think it should be a must-have, and that is a pump. Now, whether you want to do a manual pump like a hand pump, or you want to do something that has a battery or a wall charge, whatever, there's varying price ranges. But just as a quick side note, I had a great little nursing relationship with my firstborn, and I went somewhere and I didn't think I needed to take my pump. Wrong. She went on a nursing strike, and I turned into like a mountain on either side. I was like the Twin Peaks. It was horrible. If I had had my pump, would have been great. Could have just pumped that off and it would have been fine, but I didn't. So I would say for those random nursing strikes that only they understand in their brain, it will help you. Trust me. The next thing is a first aid kit-ish of some sort. So for me, that looked like a rectal thermometer. I know if you don't have a baby, the thought of sticking something in your baby's patootie sounds a little weird, but it's the easiest, most reliable way to take their temperature. And when your little tiny baby gets hot and you need to know, do I freak out or am I okay? The rectal thermometer is going to be your best bet. The next thing in that whole first aid is going to be a nail kit of some sort. I know the thought of trimming nails sounds awful, but you got to do it, otherwise they'll scratch their face and it's not good. So figure out nails, nail trimmer, something to clip their little tiny nails. You also want to get some saline spray for their nose and some sort of nasal aspirator. Now, another weird little baby product is called a nose Frida, and it's a nose sucker basically, and everything in you is probably going to scream like, don't do this, you're sucking their snot into your mouth, and don't do it. I get it. It looks a little funny, but after using it for 2 kids, I can tell you that I never once, even close, got anywhere remotely near their snot with my mouth. They have it set up really well, and it's probably the best thing that I've found to get snot out of their little tiny noses, because it's not like they know how to blow their nose. Next on the list is going to be calming, soothing items. So how are you going to help your baby settle? That could look like a pacifier. Both of my girls have taken pacifiers in some capacity. And if you don't want to, cool, that's no big deal. It's nice to have it on standby just in case it works out in your favor. You will have to take it away at some point, so keep that in mind. Also, in the calming category, I would suggest a noisemaker of some sort. I remember listening to something, I think it was a YouTube clip or something, and it was simulating just how loud it is for a baby in the mother's womb. It's loud. Even at night when you're laying down, it's loud. There's a lot of stuff happening in your body, the gurgles and just all kinds of stuff, so it's loud. So a noisemaker, some sort of white noisemaker, something, so it's not just you could hear a pin drop quiet, because they're used to noise. They're used to being inside of you. The last thing in the calming section is a baby carrier, so whether that's a Mobi or an Ergo or something else, a ring sling. There's all kinds of great carriers out there, but that my second child lived in the carrier for the first little while. She wouldn't nap anywhere else. She didn't want to be anywhere else. She was right here in the baby carrier. So we got my baby carrier and I put on a lot of miles with her attached right there. So some sort of baby carrier. Next, and this one is really obvious, but a car seat. We went with an infant car seat both times instead of a convertible because I didn't want to have to take my baby out of her car seat every time we got out of the car. And when you have an infant car seat, you could just take the car seat out and there's a base in the car. So there's a million out there, but we went with just an infant seat. That was, I guess, the main point of that, but you got to have a car seat. Next is sleeping arrangements. Now that could look really different depending on what your thoughts are. You could have baby in their own room in a crib. You could have baby in your room in a mini crib or a co-sleeper, or you could have the baby sleeping in the bed with you. There's a lot of different options, so you can kind of figure out what sounds best for you, what's going to work best for your family. I went with a co-sleeper that attached to our bed, and both girls used it. However, both girls also ended up, for the first part of their little early lives, ended up in bed, suctioned to me right here. Wasn't really what I planned on, but it worked out really, really well for our family. Happy we did it. Then I moved them to the co-sleepers. Then I moved the co-sleeper across the room, and then they moved into their own rooms into a larger traditional crib. Last but not least, clothing. Now, I wouldn't necessarily get too crazy because, again, remember, we're just talking about the early stages. This is just the first couple months. And a couple cute outfits, sure, that's fine. But for the majority of it, your baby's going to be sleeping. So comfortable things. The one thing that we really liked for both of our girls were the footless, they're like the footless pajamas. They basically look like a nightgown and they're open on the bottom. And, you know, they sleep like they got their legs all the way up to their chins anyway. But so it's open on the bottom. So when you have to do a diaper change, one of like 400 each night, all you got to do is reach in there and pull their little tiny legs out. And you don't have to unzip anything. You don't have to unsnap anything. Speaking of snaps, the ones with the snap, snap, snap all the way down, don't get those, especially for nighttime. It's a lot of snapping to do at 2 o'clock in the morning. So, clothing. What's the most comfortable? What's going to work the best? And the last item in clothing, and it's actually technically not clothing, I guess it could be clothing or it could be soothing, and that is some sort of swaddle. Whether you believe in swaddling now or not, I would have one on hand because you could be like me where I was like, no, don't restrict the baby. But after about the 50, 100 millionth time of her waking herself up after she slapped herself in the night, my husband was like, we're going to try the swaddle. And it saved our lives, literally saved our lives. So have a swaddle on hand. Soothing, clothing, whatever. So before I continue, guys, we have a Facebook page, and I wanted to tell you about it in case you haven't checked it out. We're on there adding content, sharing funny stories, sweet stories, things that we've found that are inspiring to us. And so we'd love to have you check us out there and stop in, say hello, whatever. Love for you to check us out. Would also like to invite you to be a subscriber. If you're not already, you could click on the subscribe button, and if you click on the bell, you'll get notified when we put out videos, which is every week, usually on Wednesdays. So you could kind of join with us, join our little KT Files family as we go through our journey into family and not losing my mind. Yeah. If you like the video, please click like. If there's anyone in your life that you think would benefit from this, I'd be honored if you'd consider sharing it. And that's it. That's actually it. We're all done. So I hope this video has been helpful. I hope it's eased a little bit of that anxiety of trying to figure out what do I do? I don't know what to do. Yeah. Hope that it's helped. Hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.